I don't even know what to say about SmackDown tonight. Not great, not horrible, just painfully in the middle. What's going on, everybody? It's your buddy, it's your pal Spaz Phoenix, the YWC Reality Check, here with your April 2nd SmackDown Live review. A little bit of house cleaning, like I say. Go up to the exclamation point up in the corner. Check out the Q&A. You still got about a month to put your questions in. Please check out the new Raw 3-count series that I'm trying to get up off the ground. And like I said in the opening, now that that little speck of house cleaning is out of the way, I really don't know what to say about this show. Right from the get-go, we start in the back. I don't like this. The opening segment of the show, I mean, granted, WWE has trained us to think that no matter what, the opening segment of the show is going to be a talking segment, but the opening segment of the show should get you revved up for the rest of the show. Should let you hear the pop of the crowd, etc. You don't get that with a backstage segment, but what you have is you have Jinder Mahal and the Singh brothers. They've renamed the Bollywood Boys. They've renamed the Shira brothers. They're the Singh brothers. I don't know what their first names are, and I don't really care. They're in the back, and they're doing a photo shoot with the belt that Jinder hasn't won yet. Shane McMahon comes. He takes the belt. He says, around here that titles are earned, and you have a match against Sami Zayn tonight. So Steroid Mahal and his mini-me's are going to take on Sami Zayn tonight, which is wonderful. We come out, and there's more talking. Shane McMahon comes out. He welcomes Chris Jericho, the newest member of SmackDown, the new United States Champion, and he announces that there's going to be Jericho versus Owens tonight in a rematch. Jericho says that it is now the show of Jericho, and we need to smack it down, man. AJ Styles comes out. The only American in the U.S. title picture, AJ Styles, who doesn't know if he's babyface or heel, welcomes Jericho, tells him a lot has changed since the last time they saw each other. This is the house that AJ Styles built. Do you remember a little tag team called Y2AJ? I'll be happy to take your title at Backlash. Jericho comes out, Jericho comes back by bragging about tapping out Owens. He says he's the new face of America, and he almost adds AJ Styles to the list, and he's cut off by Owens, who says that all of them are pathetic. The three of you don't matter. Tonight I get my title back, and Jericho, what I do to you tonight, I'm going to make the Festival of Friendship and what I did to you at WrestleMania look like nothing. He asks Styles, why are you even here? Which prompts AJ Styles, who's a heel, apparently, to go up to the ramp and brawl with Owens, who's a heel, apparently. And I'll tell you something, guys. This is why it's painful. You guys know I really pull for the SmackDown brand. That's why I review SmackDown. That's why I barely do the 3-count thing for Raw. I like SmackDown because genuinely I like what they're doing most of the time. I like SmackDown. I like Shane McMahon for the most part. I like Jericho. I love that he's on SmackDown. I like Owens. Same thing goes. AJ Styles, enough said. This segment was pointless. This was 14 minutes of pointless talking. Why? Because we didn't learn anything. I just, it makes my head hurt. We knew after WrestleMania, after the last pay-per-view that just passed, the shitty one that just happened on Sunday. Payback. We knew that after Payback, there was going to be a rematch. They announced on social media and on Twitter and on WWE.com that there was going to be a rematch. They announced it at the top of the show. So you didn't need Shane McMahon and Chris Jericho out there to announce that there was going to be a rematch. And we already know that whoever the champion is defending at Backlash. We didn't need AJ Styles coming out and basically cutting a, like I say about the whole show, painfully middle ground promo about the fact that he's going to get a title at Payback. He's being a heel to Jericho. He's sort of fighting like a face by proxy to Kevin Owens, and Shane McMahon just doesn't say anything because they had their handshake and they're boys now. So nothing came out of this segment. There was nothing, and we could have gotten another match out of this whole deal. And why are you wasting my time is really the point. Jinder Mahal versus Sami Zayn, and I immediately, as they go to lots of flashbacks. They do a flashback of Jinder Mahal's attack on Orton at Payback that cost him the match against Bray Wyatt at Roddy Raw. But they also go back to the six-pack challenge where Jinder Mahal became the #1 contender, because Jinder Mahal became the #1 contender because the Singh brothers helped him win. But who they actually screwed over in that match was Sami Zayn. So there is a little bit of a legitimacy to this match, because in the beginning, I am a fan of Sami Zayn. I don't like the fact that he's sort of used like a Dolph Ziggler, who we'll talk about later on. Basically, he won't get the shot. He'll be there to make the guys that are getting the shots look good. But then I remember that he was the one that actually was screwed over in that six-pack challenge. So in this case, it actually makes sense. And on a show that has a slew of Canadians, I will say, Ty Dillinger, Kevin Owens, Chris Jericho, Natalya Neidhart, apparently Tyler Breeze is Canadian. I didn't know that. Sami Zayn's obviously Canadian. Apparently Jinder Mahal is also Canadian. So when I call him Mr. Straight Outta Brampton, I'm not that far off, which just makes me smile a little bit. Collar and elbow tap, and Jinder works the arm, and there's a reversal by Zayn. Head scissor by Zayn, corner beatdown by Jinder, drop kick by Zayn. Jinder rides a headlock because he's a heel. Chops by Zayn, slam by Jinder, knee drop and a back elbow. Jinder rides a headlock with a post for kneecap right in the small of the back, which is good. Corner spear, high knee by Jinder, clothesline by Zayn. Top rope crossbody by Zayn and a pinning reversal sequence. Top rope tornado DDT by Zayn, but a trip by one of the Singh brothers and a full Nelson slam gets the obvious, predictable, and we knew it was going to happen, victory for Jinder Mahal. I say one of the Singh brothers. They've got new names that I'm not going to bother learning. I'm just going to put that out there right now. I'm not even going to give these guys a bit of my time until they give me any indication that these guys are actually going to be part of the tag team division. But Jinder Mahal gets the obvious win. Sami Zayn basically goes into this match and does what he was there to do. He was there to make Steroid Mahal look good. It was mentioned on a podcast a little while ago. Might have been CB Over the Ropes, and if I'm misquoting, I'm sorry. There is something to be said for Jinder's little faction. There's always something to be said for a faction of one jacked up guy who needs backup, and his backup is a bunch of little guys. That is always funny. Becky is in the back, and she argues with the anti-Charlotte faction. And I don't care at all. Ziggler watches the ad for Backlash, which is basically a whole bunch of highlights of Shinsuke Nakamura. He starts talking about shit. I can speak, I swear. He starts talking shit about Shinsuke Nakamura and how he hasn't even wrestled yet, and people are making a big deal of it, and Brian and Shane are stupid, and da-da-da, not realizing that Shane's right behind him. But then he turns around and he doesn't get caught up in his words. He just says, you know what? You want to see how you steal the show? Watch what I do to Sin Cara tonight. So I'm thinking, okay, there's going to be another squash match, but we'll get there when we get there. Aiden English comes out because Simon Gotch is gone, and he's gone back to the artiste gimmick. He starts doing the singing shtick, and his music's cut off by Ziggler, or by Dillinger's music, which is good. Aiden English versus Ty Dillinger. English, who's virtually nothing, and Dillinger, who's one of the big prospects from NXT that they're trying to push right now. How do you think this is going to go? Cheap shot and a beatdown in the corner by English, start a flying forearm by Dillinger, a clothesline by English, a mudhole by Dillinger, and some sort of finisher. I almost thought it was the tiebreaker, but it's not, because the tiebreaker... This is the only way this makes sense to me. The only reason they would make Ty Dillinger stop using the tiebreaker or change what the tiebreaker is because the tiebreaker is basically the Ushigoroshi that AJ Styles uses. You got two guys on the same show, one guy using another guy's finisher as a setup move. There's a little bit of inconsistency there. So what Ty Dillinger basically does, and I don't know whether this is going to be the new tiebreaker, but it's basically a TK, like a swinging TKO a la Mark Marrow back in the day, but instead of dropping him on his head, he drops him across the knee. So it does still have elements of the old school tiebreaker, but he had to put a little bit of a twist on it. Great looking move, regardless. I just don't know what they're calling it. They weren't clear about that on commentary or whatever. But Dillinger gets the obvious win, and it's all good. I really feel bad for Aiden English because the artiste gimmick wasn't really even that good in NXT, let alone the main roster. In the back, Jericho is about to have an interview with Renee Young, who he calls Ronnie, which is great, I guess. He walks by Aiden English, who's crying about his loss, and he puts him on the list for crying, and puts Renee Young on the list because he can. Rewind. A second ago, when I said there's a lot of Canadian talent on SmackDown, I forgot about Renee Young. That's my bad. Moving on. They also had Mauro Ranallo. Thanks, JBL. The anti-Charlotte faction in the back, 3.5-on-1 beat down Charlotte and say, we'll see you out in the ring. Which doesn't happen because Natty and Carmella, with Tamina and Ellsworth in their corner, take on Naomi and nobody. Naomi and Carmella start the match. They trade some kicks, and it doesn't take very long before we get, say it loud and say it proud, the bullshit, no actual contact dance kicks from Naomi. Snapmare and a headlock by Natty. Atomic slam by Natty, who runs up the back and slams Naomi face first into the steps, which is great. Facebuster by Natty. Double team takedown by Natty and Carmella. Carmella rides a headlock and turns it into a hair takedown, but the way she snaps it off, it's almost an inverted X Factor. Far be it from me to give Carmella credit as a wrestler, but that was pretty cool. Bitch slap from Natty that just made me pause the video and smile a whole lot, because seeing Naomi get slapped across the face is something that makes me smile a lot. Oh yes, mudhole stomp, and Charlotte comes down to join the match to rescue the piece of trash known as Naomi that's sitting a beaten heap in the ring. Forearms, chops, neck breakers, boots, all by Charlotte. Natty eats the turnbuckle. Carmella has a body scissors on Charlotte, but that doesn't last very long. Stomps by Carmella, and a super botchy jawbreaker, and the chocolate camel toe of death by Naomi, but Carmella clearly held her breath, rolled her up, and got the win for the heel team. Fuck Naomi, and I'll even cheer Carmella on this one. Jesus Christ. 3-on-2 beatdown as Tamina enters the fray. Becky Lynch comes down. Everybody stops to see what she's going to do. She shakes Tamina's hand like she's going to join the group. She shakes Carmella's hand like she's going to join the group. She shakes Natty's hand like she's going to join the group. She tells James Ellsworth to come over and give her a hug. She uses Ellsworth as a weapon on the other three, and it breaks back down into a 3-on-3 brawl. It's really easy for Ellsworth to get a paycheck, isn't it? Because he's basically the escort for this little group here. The heels get the advantage, overpowering the baby faces, and that's basically how the segment ends kind of messy, because the whole big moment of whether or not Becky was going to turn heel and make it a 4-on-2 beatdown, and then she just evened out the odds, should have been a bigger moment. It wasn't done very well, other than, as I say, her using Ellsworth as a weapon. Naomi's fucking useless. Carmella got a victory. Not that I'm cheering for Carmella, but Carmella's a jobber and beat Naomi, who's a piece of trash. Oh yes, we get a promo because the New Day is coming soon. Alright, Ziggler versus Sin Cara. Sin Cara's out there in a weird outfit. Now, you guys know that have been watching the Raw 3 count, I thought they were giving Kalisto a little bit of a push, because they repackaged him. They gave him new music, they gave him a weird new entrance, they gave him that sort of gargoyle dragon looking mask, and they actually let him get some offense in on Braun Strowman before he got absolutely decimated. Sin Cara's repackaging he's basically the same, except he's wearing a long sleeve t-shirt along with his gear. So that's weird. I don't know what his music sounds like, because he got the jobber entrance, aka the entrance during the commercial break. Collar and elbow type to start, a back elbow by Ziggler, and a lot of jabs. Springboard crossbody by Sin Cara, springboard back elbow by Sin Cara, and a moonsault. Sin Cara it's a two-part maneuver that he does here, because at first he dumps Ziggler out onto the apron, but then follows up with a pendulum kick that takes him all the way to the floor. Suicide dive by Sin Cara, a boot and a neck breaker by Ziggler, a standing elbow drop by Ziggler, some chain wrestling and a drop kick. That roll up into a one-arm powerbomb that Sin Cara does in the video game was in this match tonight. You could see he kind of struggled a little bit because Ziggler's bigger than he is, but it is what it is. But, you know, super kicked literally out of nowhere like an RKO, and Ziggler gets the win. Sin Cara got to look good for the majority of the match, but you knew he wasn't going to win, so this match, I guess, did what it was supposed to do. I thought we were going to get interference from Shinsuke Nakamura, or at least some mind games, because that's the kind of character that he is, but we just didn't. Apparently, he's not there this week, whatever. I guess he heard the Michael Jackson promo from last week and said, fuck this guy. And I wouldn't blame him. Lana, in her weird dancing gimmick, is coming soon. Breezango. What you can take from this segment is that Breezango are getting their title shots against the Usos at Backlash. But what they did, and I only think this is funny because I used to watch Law & Order, they basically did a Law & Order spoof with fashion police, the whole thing. They're in a police station. They're listing off all the crimes that the Usos have committed, or the Uggos. It's funny for what it is, but it goes back to my initial point. Fandango and Tyler Breeze are two great wrestlers. They are two great wrestlers that have formed a great team. Their gimmick is shit. And much like I said about Apollo Crews on Raw, whose wife did these guys fuck in creative to get stuck with this gimmick and not have it even go anywhere? Like, if it was a shitty gimmick, but at least they were progressing a shitty gimmick, I could understand it. But it's just a shitty gimmick where the creator has said, ha ha ha, you're staying in this shitty gimmick. And on the other hand, you can't complain because they're getting a tag team title shot at the first post-Mania SmackDown pay-per-view, which is all fine and good, and it's going to have that extra big feeling of it because it's also paired with the NXT pay-per-view, and that's going to have a tag team ladder match. Spoiler alert. Jericho versus Owens for the US title. They trade punches. This match I really wanted to be good because these guys are good. Like I said at the beginning of the show, I like Jericho. I like Owens. This match just never really seemed like it got out of gear to me. Like, not to say that it was a bad match, but it never got out of gear. But let's go. They trade some punches. Elbows by Jericho. Jericho works over the hand that got worked over at the pay-per-view. Nice little continuity there. Boot by Owens and a mudhole stomp. Running senton by Owens, some chops and a boot by Jericho. Drop kick and some mounted punches by Jericho. High knee strikes and chops by Jericho. Cannonball against the guardrail on the outside by Owens. Body blows by Owens and a lion salt by Jericho. Walls of Jericho and a hangman... Walls of Jericho countered into a hangman and a super kick by Owens. Owens goes for the pop-up powerbomb that's countered into a head scissor that's completely rolled through into a Walls of Jericho. That was a fantastic sequence. I won't lie to you on that one. Super kick, DDT on the ramp by Owens. Super kick back in the ring by Owens. Pop-up powerbomb, and Owens is your new champion. There was some great sequences in the match. The ending sequence wasn't that great. It was just, I'm going to super kick you, I'm going to super kick you again, I'm going to DDT you, I'm going to super kick you again. I'm just going to keep trying. It made me think of the Rock versus Austin the second time they fought at WrestleMania. Not the third time, which was fantastic. Not the first time, which was a little awkward. But the second time, where for the majority of the match, it was just them trying their finishers over and over and over and over and over again. And yeah, two monsters of wrestling, two icons of wrestling going at it, and marquee value and excitement and energy in the arena and all that. It's all good. Nobody's going to take that away from it. Nobody's going to take it away from what these guys did tonight. But at the end there, where it's just super kick, super kick, super kick, DDT, 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 it's just like, I'm just going to keep trying this until it works, which can be exciting or can fall incredibly flat, which is what it did tonight. What didn't fall flat was the aftermath of this match. And again, I figured, much like the Shinsuke Nakamura thing earlier, I thought AJ Styles after the match, because he'd been banned from the ring during the match, I thought he would have came and got his licks in on Owens afterwards, and they can set forth a path going forward with that feud, you know, the one that's heel versus heel, and makes total sense. But we get another, what do you call it? I can't think, I can't speak, and my writing fucking sucks. It's late in the night. I'm sorry, guys. Another pop-up powerbomb after the match. He goes for a third, but Jericho's just so fucked at that point, he crumples into a heap. So instead he takes him outside, gives him a beat down outside, and gives him the steel chair necktie. Now, for those of you that don't know what the steel chair necktie is, it goes back to, you know, what the Hardys did to each other back in the day, what Kane did to, I think, Shawn Michaels back in the day. Basically, where they open up the chair, they put the chair over your head, like Halo style almost, and they make you wear it literally around your neck and run it into the ring post on the outside. Basically, you're getting all the impact of the ring post, all the impact to your throat with the chair, and you can't escape because your head's stuck in the chair. It's a decent little spot, and Jericho, legitimately, when he fell to the ground, looked like he was scared. There's a point where somebody's injured and they're expressing pain, or they're injured so badly that they're actually afraid of what's happened to them. And Jericho walked the fine line of that without making it look too goofy, so I got to give him credit for that. So here's the deal. They basically handed him the belt for 2 days to move him on to SmackDown because he's going off to tour with Fozzy. And I figure the only reason they did that is because whatever he's doing when he gets back from touring with Fozzy is going to be on SmackDown. So we put this little gimmick in there where it's like, if he wins the title, he ends up on SmackDown. So they put him up against Owens. They gave him the title for 2 nights. They got him on SmackDown, gave the title back to Owens. If they wanted Jericho to come to SmackDown, you just did the superstar fuck-up. Why wouldn't you have just announced him as one last guy from the superstar shakeup? I don't think you needed to put put a halt on Kevin Owens' momentum to do that. But obviously this has been done to whatever he's doing. He's doing his podcast, he's doing some TV stuff, he's doing touring with Fozzy. Fozzy, ironically enough, now that Jericho's getting ready to leave, I think, Fozzy and they've got a new song. I think it's called Lucifer. I'm probably wrong. But it is the theme for TakeOver Chicago. So he's leaving just in time for his band's music to be used by the WWE. That's a little bit funny. This show was strange. And I know I keep going back to saying that the show was strange, but it really was. 2 steps forward, 2 steps back in a lot of situations. Kevin Owens and Jericho buttoned up their feud, which is great, but the segment that got us there at the beginning of the night was pointless. AJ Styles is going to be fighting Kevin Owens. He didn't do anything to really build the feud with Kevin Owens other than take part in that segment at the beginning of the night that made no sense. Jinder Mahal beat up Sami Zayn for reasons. Ziggler beat up Sin Cara for reasons. Both of those was because Randy Orton and Shinsuke Nakamura were not on the show tonight. The women's division, which I used to praise, is falling in the shitter. And don't make me, WWE, don't make me say it because I'm gonna have to. Raw's women's division is kicking the shit out of SmackDown's women's division. Now, what does that say? That means this division needed Alexa Bliss. But that's another story for another day. You've got Becky Lynch, who everybody likes, Naomi, who's a piece of trash, and Charlotte, who's a heel on the babyface team, versus 3 heels and James Ellsworth that were doing nothing, and we turned them heel to stop the fact that they were doing nothing, and to turn them heel, you had to turn Charlotte, who's not even an exciting heel, into a less exciting babyface, going up against Naomi, who's a piece of trash, with Becky playing the tweener. It's very fucked up, and it's all one story, and you're not going to get what made the SmackDown Women's Division so great was that you had layers. You had several stories. You had different things going on. You had feuds that didn't have to do with the title, and now you don't. SmackDown Women's Division is fucked. I think their tag team division's kind of fucked too, even though I'm kind of happy for Breezango right now. American Alpha, you know, it is what it is, but SmackDown's got to pick some shit up. I don't want to say that, but it's true. And if I was to play a game with Raw and SmackDown, which I don't because I just don't, Raw would have won this week. And I really hate to say that, but I'm really hoping NXT tomorrow can pick up the upswing. Anyways, that's it. That's all I've got to say. Sorry I'm not as enthused as I usually am, but that's sort of representative of the show that we saw tonight. Anyways, I've been Spaz, your YWC Reality Check. Subscribe up there, talk down there, start a conversation, keep all these conversations going. Don't be a stranger. I'll talk to each and every last one of you later, but for right now, I'm tagging out. Bye, guys.
Don't freak like me.